Okay, throughout my career over the years, I've given a lot of feedback to a lot of people on their work, on their videos. And more recently, I used to do the TF feedback series where I would look at your guys' films and I would give you some sort of feedback. And now I've been doing, on the members live streams, I've been kind of taking your videos, taking your Instagram, giving you feedback on all of that stuff. Now, when somebody asks me to give feedback on their work, these are the most common things that I see that people kind of make mistakes on. So if you want to supercharge your filmmaking and just skip all of the mistakes that we all make, do not do these 10 things. Number one, by far the most common mistake that I see everybody when they're starting out make is filming in 30 frames per second. Or even worse, 50 or 60 frames per second. I get it, I've done it myself. You think, well, the more frame rates, the better, right? Wrong, you wanna stick to 24 frames per second. This is the most cinematic look there is. And a lot of you might not even realize that there's a difference in the look between 24 frames per second, 30, 50, and 60. And all the gamers, again, are gonna get angry. I understand for gaming, it helps to have more frame rates. But when we're talking about look, when we're talking about the quality of the image, when you're trying to make something really cinematic, stick to 24 frames per second. I cannot stress this more. 24. Number two is using way too high of an ISO when you actually don't need to. I see this all the time and people are like, why doesn't my footage look as good as this other person's footage from the same camera? And it's just because you're using a really high ISO when you actually don't need to. The only time you boost your ISO is if there's literally not enough light. And on that note, there's actually a base ISO, which is the best ISO for that camera. It's different for every camera. This is the ISO that your camera is gonna perform best at. The dynamic range, the amount of noise, all that is gonna be the best. So make sure you stick to the base ISO. Number three, people buy DSLRs and then they just stick it in auto and that's it. That is a massive mistake in my opinion. Not only does it make you a worse filmmaker because you don't actually know how to control your camera, but you're also giving away a lot of the creative choices to this little robot of a brain in your camera that doesn't do the best job. You're giving away a lot of your creative choices, especially the f-stop. That is probably the most creative choice that you can make while you're filming what f-stop you're gonna film at. So don't film in auto. Learn how to use manual controls. Number four, this one's really common, is overexposing or underexposing. So you're just making your image too bright or too dark, and again, your footage is not gonna look good when you go to post and you start color grading. It doesn't look good if you've lost detail in the highlights or lost detail in the shadows. Yeah, you're gonna be really struggling. Basically, just use a histogram or better yet, a waveform, because you can't always trust your eyes just looking at the LCD screen. If everything is over to the left side on your histogram, that means you're underexposed, and if everything is over to the right on your histogram, that means you're overexposing. You want it kind of in the middle. Number five is that people don't color grade their footage. It really hurts me to see footage filmed, and it might even be filmed nicely, but then it's just not color graded. You're missing out on a massive step, especially if you're filming in log. You have to color grade. Yeah, it's just gonna look like junk if you don't. It's kind of like the equivalent of building a house and not putting any furniture in it. Or you get an ice cream, but it's the new flavorless flavor. Yeah, just take the time, color grade your footage. It's gonna look way better. It's gonna make you more unique. Even if it's just using a LUT or something and putting down the opacity, just color grade your footage, please, just a little bit even. Number six is not using lights. Lights like this one that I'm using right now. And I understand it, in the beginning, there's like a bajillion things that you need to buy, and lights aren't quite, so high up on the list. You wanna buy cameras and lenses and all that other stuff first. So I understand that, but at least use natural light. There's always some sort of light source around you that you can use, whether it's a window or just a light in your house. Basically, just look around in your room or in your setting and find out what's the brightest thing there, and then just use that. That's your light. Easy as that. And it's gonna make your footage look, again, way better than just filming in a dark corner. yeah, just use a light. Number 7 is bad audio, and I don't just mean not using a microphone. I highly recommend investing in a microphone very early on. It's gonna do way more for your videos than something like a gimbal. But really what I mean is the audio is like peaking or it's way too low. Basically, where you want your audio is about minus 12 decibels. That's where you kind of want the audio to be hitting. You don't want to hit red. That's bad. And then afterwards, you can tweak it in post. But minus 12, that's kind of where you want your audio to hit while you're recording. Then we have the classic shaky footage, and this is something that we all do. We pick up the camera and we put it into video mode and we start filming and it's just shaking everywhere, and it doesn't look good. And don't use the excuse of saying that you're trying to make it look raw or something like that. I get it, there's a time and place for that, but most likely you weren't using it for that purpose. Buy a monopod, a gorillapod, a tripod. Is there a quadrupod? A gimbal, anything to stabilize your footage. It's gonna be way better than that jittery footage. Number 9, you film some footage and you go to edit it and you just slap on a song. You just, oh, this song's great, I like this one, and you just throw it in there. That is not enough. First of all, you don't wanna just choose a song that you liked, which is really tempting in the beginning. Choose a song that fits your footage and then edit to that song. Don't just edit and then just slap in a song. It's gonna be way more interesting, more compelling, just overall better if you actually edit to the song. And then lastly, the biggest mistake we all make as beginners is neglecting story. We all hear it, story is king, but when you're a beginner, you're just so caught up in the camera and the settings and everything else going on that you completely forget about the story. So plan out your story beforehand, because the worst thing is coming home with just a bunch of nice or semi-nice looking footage, but there's no point to your video. Take your time, plan out the story, make sure there's something to your video, more than just nice visuals. All right, there we have it. That's my take on the top 10 mistakes that we as beginner filmmakers make. Again, I've probably done every single one of these, so don't be discouraged. If you've done these, just learn from them. If you haven't done these, you're just starting out, pay attention. Don't do these mistakes. Okay, that's it for this one. I'm gonna go practice my surfboard ripstick thing some more. See you guys.